Long before towering empires ruled distant lands or brilliant inventions reshaped human life, a remarkable transformation unfolded in the hot, dry plains of Mesopotamia where the world's first great cities began to rise under the blazing sun. This region, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, became the homeland of the Sumerians, a people whose creativity and determination would forever change how humans lived and worked together. To travelers approaching the area for the first time, the land may have seemed barren and unforgiving, but the early settlers discovered its hidden power-rich silt carried by the rivers that made farming not just possible, but wonderfully productive. Every year, the rivers swelled with fresh water from distant mountains, flooding the plains and leaving behind thick layers of fertile soil. Families who once wandered as hunters and gatherers began settling in small farming villages, building mud brick homes clustered close for safety and sharing. From these simple beginnings, new dreams grew, dreams of larger communities, better tools, and a shared life built on cooperation and hard work. Children watched adults dig irrigation canals that stretched like winding ribbons across the land, carrying precious water to thirsty crops under the scorching sun. As farming improved, harvests grew bigger, and food became plentiful enough to support more people than ever before. With food supplies secure, not everyone needed to farm, and new jobs slowly emerged: potters shaping clay, weavers crafting cloth, carpenters carving sturdy tools, and traders traveling between villages with baskets of goods. Villages grew into towns, and towns blossomed into bustling cities unlike anything the world had ever seen. The most famous of these rising cities was Uruk, often celebrated as one of the very first true cities in human history, filled with noise, energy, and imagination. Approaching Uruk from afar, visitors saw massive walls built from thousands of mud bricks, standing proudly against the wide, empty horizon. Inside these walls lay a maze of narrow streets, busy workshops, towering temples, open markets, and homes that filled the city with constant motion. Children running through the streets could hear the tapping of stone tools, the clatter of pottery wheels, and the lively shouts of merchants selling fragrant oils, dried fish, baskets of grain, or colorful woven cloth. The air smelled of baked bread, burning firewood, and fresh clay drying under the sun, scents that defined everyday life in ancient Sumer. At the heart of each Sumerian city rose something truly extraordinary: the ziggurat, a giant step temple built to honor the gods. These towering structures, made from mud bricks layered one upon another, stood like mountains rising from the flat plains. Climbing the long ramps to the upper levels, priests performed rituals and offered food, incense, and prayers to keep the gods pleased and protect the city from harm. Children often gazed up at these monumental buildings in awe, imagining the gods watching from the skies as the city bustled below. Daily life in Sumer was lively and colorful. Farmers brought carts piled high with grain into the city, while fishermen delivered crates of river fish and shepherds guided flocks of sheep and goats through the city gates. Craftsmen hammered, carved, wove, baked, and shaped almost everything the community needed. In small homes, families gathered around glowing oil lamps to share meals of bread, dates, onions, and cooked grains, while children listened to stories about heroes, monsters, and the mighty gods who protected the land. One of the Sumerians' most incredible achievements was their invention of writing, a system that forever changed how people communicated. Scribes pressed wedge-shaped marks into soft clay tablets using a reed stylus, creating a script known as cuneiform. At first, writing recorded simple things like traded goods or stored grain, but soon it expanded into laws, songs, stories, and even legendary tales of kings and gods. Young apprentices practiced their writing for hours each day, dreaming of becoming skilled scribes who could record the city's most important moments. As Sumerian cities grew wealthier, they needed organized leadership. Kings, high priests, and city officials worked together to manage laws, trade, farming, and religious ceremonies. They oversaw the construction of canals, storage buildings, and new temples that strengthened the city's power and unity. Children saw these leaders as figures of great importance, believing they carried the wisdom of ancestors and the blessing of the gods. Trade expanded far beyond city walls. Sumerian merchants traveled across deserts and along river routes to exchange grain, cloth, pottery, and metal tools for timber, precious stones, and exotic goods from distant lands. These exchanges not only brought wealth, but also new ideas and knowledge, helping the cities grow more advanced and connected to the wider world. Each returning merchant carried stories of strange places and different peoples, filling the imaginations of children who dreamed of traveling far beyond the desert horizon. Sumerian inventiveness extended to tools and technology too. They developed the wheel, transforming transportation and pottery making. They created mathematical systems to measure land and manage trade. They built sturdy boats to travel the rivers, using wooden frames covered with tightly wrapped reeds or bitumen to stay afloat. Each new invention made life easier, more efficient, and surprisingly modern compared to earlier human societies. Music, art, and celebration added joy to everyday life. People played harps, flutes, drums, and lyres during festivals held in open courtyards lit by torches. Children danced freely to the lively rhythms, waving cloth streamers as they spun and laughed among family and friends. Brightly painted pottery, carved figurines, and carefully crafted jewelry decorated homes and temples, reflecting the creativity and pride of the Sumerian people. Despite challenges like floods, droughts, and occasional conflicts between rival cities, the people of Sumer continued to build, invent, and dream. Their determination turned the once empty plains of Mesopotamia into a thriving world of innovation and culture. Children growing up in these early cities learned that their community was part of something truly remarkable, something the world had never seen before. And so, the story of ancient Sumer unfolded in dusty streets, busy workshops, fertile fields, and towering temples. It was the birthplace of cities, writing, and many of the ideas that shaped human civilization. From the glowing lamps inside humble mud brick homes to the grand ziggurats reaching toward the heavens, Sumer stood as the world's first shining example of what people could create when they worked together. As Sumer continued to grow, new ideas spread through the bustling streets like warm wind drifting across the plains. Skilled builders experimented with larger bricks, thicker walls, and taller structures, slowly transforming simple mud brick villages into true cities filled with life, sound, and purpose. Every generation added something new: wider roads, sturdier homes, and public spaces where people gathered to share news, trade goods, and plan great projects that would shape the future. Marketplace chatter echoed through open squares each morning. Merchants from faraway places carried bundles of wool, baskets of dates, jars of sweet honey, and carved ornaments made from rare stones. They shouted cheerful greetings as customers wandered between stalls, comparing prices and examining the goods with curious eyes. Children squeezed between the crowds, helping parents carry fabric or grain, while wide-eyed travelers shared stories of deserts, mountains, and rivers beyond the horizon. Temples stood proudly at the heart of every major Sumerian city. Ziggurats, massive step towers made of brick, rose toward the sky like mountains carved from earth. Priests climbed their winding stairways to offer food, incense, and prayers to the gods, believing these rituals protected the city and kept good fortune flowing. From below, children watched with awe, imagining the gods listening from shimmering clouds above the highest platform. Inside temple workshops, scribes dipped sharpened reeds into soft clay tablets, pressing neat rows of wedge-shaped symbols onto the surface. These early writings kept track of harvests, taxes, trade, and important stories. Young students trained for years to master cuneiform, practicing symbols until their hands ached. Though it was difficult, many children dreamed of becoming scribes, respected for their knowledge and trusted with the city's most important records. Sumerians also became experts at measuring time. They divided days into hours, hours into minutes, and even minutes into smaller units, using the movement of shadows on sundials and the dripping of water clocks to track the passing hours. Farmers used these measurements to plan watering cycles, priests used them to mark rituals, and builders used them to coordinate large construction projects. This careful attention to time helped Sumer become more organized and efficient than earlier societies. Creative minds brought music and storytelling to life as well. Families gathered in the cool evening air to hear musicians strum lyres made of wood and string, tapping gentle rhythms on drums that echoed against the walls of nearby homes. Storytellers recited tales of heroic kings, mischievous spirits, and magical creatures that guarded rivers and deserts. Children listened with shining eyes, drifting between imagination and reality as starlight shimmered above them like scattered grains of silver. Animals played important roles in everyday life. Oxen pulled heavy plows across fields, donkeys carried loads of pottery and grain, and goats provided milk that families turned into cheese and butter. Children cared for young animals, learning responsibility as they fed them, brushed them, and watched them grow. The bond between humans and animals became essential. Without their strength, many city tasks would have been far more difficult. Inventions blossomed throughout Sumer. Craftsmen improved the potter's wheel, allowing them to spin clay faster and shape bowls with incredible precision. Metalworkers experimented with copper tools, creating sharper blades and stronger axes. Boat builders designed sleek wooden boats that glided along canals and rivers, carrying goods between distant cities. Each invention made work easier and opened new paths for trade and communication. Food culture evolved alongside these innovations. Kitchens filled with the warm smell of baking bread, hearty stews bubbling in clay pots, and sweet date cakes that families enjoyed during celebrations. Farmers grew barley, wheat, onions, and chickpeas, while fishermen brought fresh catches from nearby waterways. Meals were simple yet nourishing, bringing families together after long days of labor and teaching children to appreciate the gifts of the land. As cities grew busier, new job roles emerged. There were merchants, soldiers, builders, carpenters, weavers, bakers, brewers, and countless others, each contributing a piece to the city's grand puzzle. Even children played small roles carrying water, grinding grain, collecting reeds for writing tablets, or helping tend small gardens behind their homes. Everyone, no matter their age, had a place and purpose within the community. Social gatherings and festivals brought excitement to city life. During special celebrations, people decorated their homes with colorful cloth, played lively music, danced in wide circles, and shared large trays of food with neighbors. Priests led parades that wound through the streets, while families offered gifts to the gods and wished for luck in farming, trade, and health. Festivals reminded everyone that joy, community, and gratitude were just as important as hard work. Laws and leadership helped keep the cities running smoothly. Kings oversaw major projects, managed conflicts, and protected their people. Councils discussed important matters, from irrigation disputes to building plans. Scribes documented rules that ensured fairness, while soldiers guarded city gates and patrolled trade routes. Children learned early that strong leadership and thoughtful rules kept their cities safe, peaceful, and full of opportunity. Art and decoration flourished in every corner. Home walls were painted with simple patterns, jewelry glimmered in the sunlight as people walked through markets, and small statues carved from stone watched silently from family altars. Each piece, no matter how small, reflected the creativity and spirit of the Sumerian people. Children often molded their own miniature figures from leftover clay, imagining them as tiny guardians of their homes. Over generations, Sumerian cities like Uruk, Ur, and Eridu became centers of innovation and culture. Their influence spread far beyond their borders, inspiring neighboring regions and shaping the future of civilization. People from other lands came to trade, learn, and share ideas, turning Sumer into a vibrant crossroads of knowledge and tradition. Despite floods, droughts, and challenges from rival city-states, the Sumerians remained resilient. They used their ingenuity to solve problems, their unity to overcome obstacles, and their creativity to build a world unlike anything that had come before. Their canals, temples, writing, and inventions laid the groundwork for future empires, leaving a legacy that continues to echo through history. And so, from mud-brick homes and early farming communities arose the first true cities, places filled with stories, discoveries, and dreams. Ancient Sumer became a shining example of what humans could achieve when they worked together, imagined boldly, and shaped their world with determination. The first city was more than just walls and streets, it was the birthplace of civilization itself.